chance one of you are new, welcome. You've landed in Cute for Teams, where we come and geek out about collaboration and all that good stuff. And if you pay attention to LinkedIn, I put out that I was going to talk about scheduling, some scheduling tips today, in all the different places that one can schedule in the M365 universe, including Teams. So I was going to start there, but as I'm preparing for that, if you did come with a question, feel free to get that queued up and or put it in the chat. We'll hit that as well. But that being said, I don't know how I came upon thinking about scheduling this week, but that's usually where my topics come from, something that came up in the week. And so it's just the idea of all the different places. And in this case, I was thinking specifically Teams, Outlook, the scheduling poll in Outlook, and then even what could CoPilot even do from a scheduling perspective. And heck, there may be others I'm not even considering bookings, as one could argue that's another scheduling spot too. But let's just go through, some of these are, will be obvious to you. Some I'm hoping to wow you with a tip or two here and there. And in fact, I'll start this off really with my first tip, which is scheduling with a particular person. So in a person's profile card, I always wish that there was a way to schedule from here. There's a way to obviously chat with someone, and there's a way to fire up an email with them, right? But I would, if I'm looking at Megan's profile right here, and I want to schedule a meeting, but there's no meeting thing here. Okay, but if I am in a chat with Megan, you may not have known that plus symbol, there is a schedule meeting there. Okay, it's using Teams, so it doesn't kick me over to Outlook. It stays in Teams, and Megan gets filled in there, and then we're ready to go to have a meeting. That being said, put the two tips together, and with one extra click, I kind of get what I wanted from a profile card. So now it's profile card, go to chat with Megan, and then click. Maybe it's 3 clicks actually, and then schedule a meeting. So I'll take it. All this time I've been waiting for a meeting, scheduling a meeting from the profile card. I still didn't get it, but 3 more clicks and I sort of have it. So I'll take that. So that's my little tip there. But it, you may not have thought about, using the plus button to schedule a meeting with someone. So that's the first place where you can schedule it. And once we're here, some of the nuances of scheduling, right, is first off, which day and time do I want to schedule with this person? And so these are just all my personal kind of ways of doing this and some of my quirks and whatnot. But you'll see, I think a lot of people, Outlook and scheduling meetings has been around for literally decades. And scheduling assistant has been there a long time. And I think a lot of people do resort right to going there. Depending on the time of day, I may or may not like the scheduling assistant. In a perfect world, I kind of already know what time I want to schedule, and I don't have to use this per se. I don't know. It gets the job done, but I think it's that long horizontal view that I don't like. I will say it's made easier once I upgraded to an ultra wide monitor. Now I can see more days in one glance. But all that being said, you can use a scheduling assistant there, but there's also those suggested times, and we'll see when we look at Outlook that it has that suggestions too, but in a kind of a different format. So this is in this particular case, I'm not sure if Teams knows that we're available, probably, because I'm sure in this demo environment, both of our calendars are wide open. But it certainly knows over in Outlook, that I'm sure of. But it is suggesting some times here Outlook gets a little more fancy with this, so we'll talk about that in a sec. So you can use scheduling assistant or the suggestion there. Obviously, we got our title, all those other kind of things. And then we get a little bit of the what happened? We get a little bit of the meeting options here about the lobby, which is nice. For me, that's one of the main meeting options that I'm always adjusting in a new meeting. So it feels right that they put that front and center. But then if I do want to see more, then I can hit that button and go to, the additional ones. I like that they started, this list was getting long. I like that they started grouping the meeting options here on the side. So if there are any other options that I want to set here for this meeting, I can do it there. Obviously, this approach is assuming an online meeting, and it kind of has bells and whistles related specifically to a Teams meeting or online meeting. So, but Teams can get it done, bringing a lot of the things that would come from Outlook as well. And again, we did that from the chat of the individual person. I don't think we get that same thing from I think I had this one here this is a meeting, so maybe this isn't a good example, but we don't get a scheduled meeting here in this one. What I didn't try is a chat with multiple people. So if I started chatting with Bob and Nestor, I can schedule a meeting even with the two of them. So that other one was just because it was a previous meeting. So yes, so even multiple people get that schedule a meeting piece. So that's nice. In fact, the group chat is even nicer because I could see a conversation going. I'm like, we need to just meet about this, and then you're 2 clicks away from doing that. So that's nice. But the typical place in Teams for scheduling would be your calendar button, right? You get your calendar here, and just as you would expect, double clicking on a particular spot or doing a new meeting and then scheduling a meeting here gets you to the same place. And it's the same look that we had for those individual scheduling. I'm trying to see if there's anything different here, actually. Yeah, this all looks about right. So, so nothing really different there per se. But that is the typical spot where you would, do your scheduling. Meet now, that I guess that wouldn't fall into the scheduling because unless you're talking about scheduling it now. But you're not going to get a meeting invite for that, other than once I get it going, then copy meeting link info or share invite default email. That, I don't know. That probably doesn't fall into the realm of scheduling. So we'll skip past that. So that's Teams. Let's jump into Outlook. And of course, I'm in new Outlook. If you're in classic Outlook, it'll look a little different. But this is kind of, we know this world pretty well, I think. A new event or double clicking on the calendar. But the things I'll call out. So if I am trying to meet with Nestor, so that search for available time. So here's where I say Outlook does it a little better. It suggests some times, but it is confirming for me that these are times where everyone is available. It also gives me what I don't think was in Teams, preferences about the duration and whether I'm trying to meet, early or maybe later as it's looking for available times. So I like this. To me, this is for the person like me that isn't 100% a fan of scheduling assistant. This helps me. This has really helped me in a time where I try to schedule a meeting where it doesn't have to be right away, and I don't want to really look at everybody's calendar. You go decide for me, even if it's way out there. Just find some times for me. This has saved me from having to really dive into calendars and figure out a time. So it just finds everybody available at that time. There may be some time quicker, maybe with some tentatives and all that stuff. But if I'm in a rush or just not feeling it that day, I do like this one. I do like also this view here for scheduling, where as I'm clicking through, you get to see whether someone's available or not in that particular section. So I do like that as well. We can see obviously that there's a checkbox for the Teams meeting, but we don't get a lot of team specific stuff in this particular view. So it's more Outlook based, but it is ready to make a Teams meeting, but this doesn't have Teams bells and whistles. So for instance, the meeting options, and I think this is a quirk some people don't necessarily like. I'm not getting any of my output for the meeting details in terms of the link to it, the phone, the dial-in conference bridge. I don't get any of that until I actually complete and send this meeting invite. In classic Outlook, that wasn't the case. You got all of your details as soon as you started drafting the meeting invite. So that's something to get used to. You just have to trust that it's going to be there. But because it's not there, what the other thing I'm not getting that I was getting on the other side is my meeting options link to go prep some of those options. So if I had to give Outlook the benefit of the doubt, I would think it'd be to take one thing away from the clutter or the confusion of creating this meeting invite. Focus on the people, the time, and the details there. Trust that we'll put in the link and all of those team specific things, but this lets me focus on the meeting itself, making my description area look nice without worrying about the stuff that'll get popped at the bottom. That's just a guess if I'm trying to defend Outlook, new Outlook here. Let's see what else. But yes, scheduling system is there. It looks a little different than it does in Teams, and it does get the job done. And then of course here now in the year 2024, we do have some kind of era specific things like the concept of working elsewhere, right? And also the concept, and it's not, is it here? Where's that in-person button? Is that only in our, I don't think that's an internal thing. I know I've seen that in my other, I was looking for that. Oh, well, I've set it to Teams meeting, so it probably would show. But there's usually a in-person, checkbox here, which will add in brackets in person to the title. So I'm not sure why that's missing. So hopefully you guys have seen that before. But that to me is another era specific thing, right? That we need to these days call out. We're so used to all of our meetings being virtual. I like that button. It's calling out that, hey, timeout. This one is in person. I'm going to put it real big in the title so you got to get out of your chair and walk down the hall or get in your car for this one. So era specific stuff related to scheduling. Okay. And it's actually, while we're here and we're talking about scheduling, we're talking about Outlook. So this just popped up. Classic Outlook has had reminders forever. You can see I'm a little passionate about scheduling here because I hated the reminder box in Classic Outlook. And it's probably my fault. It's probably no fault of Outlook, but I would let dozens, maybe even hundreds of reminders build up there. And sometimes I just couldn't bring myself to clear it out. I just felt like I was going to forget something. So that was just the bane of my existence. This new one has been much cleaner as I've been using it for months, has not built up to 200 messages or anything. It's very clean, very useful to me. But what's also useful that the classic reminders never had is these extra buttons. So yes, I could snooze on the classic reminders for sure, and I could dismiss. But we also have two cool features. So this meeting take me right to the chat for that meeting in its own window because of new teams. So I didn't have to switch contexts or go ahead and fire up the meeting and let me join it. Now, so those are, to me, those are pretty cool. The chat button is super cool. One, because especially, let's say this meeting's already started. Who's in it already? Who's already jumped into the meeting? That's what that button's going to tell me, because that if this was actually going and people were in it, I'm going to see their little profile pics here, or get some sense of how many people have joined. I like to be fashionably late, and so I like to be the last one in. That's not true, but I do like to know, if possible, who was already in the meeting, before I join, how many people are in it, that kind of thing. So that button is cool. So those are two cool buttons that you get in new Outlook reminders that you wouldn't get in Classic. Good stuff there. And then I don't know. And there's some other things related to that reminder button, but I don't want to digress too much. So let me just move that out for a bit. All right. So there's our Outlook meeting. Now we also have another way of doing meetings that I think is worth mentioning, which is the poll, the scheduling poll. And in fact, we can start that not with a event item, but with an email. Let's say to Nestor and Bob, and yeah, let's just keep it at that. So if you're going to use the meeting poll and you want it to look nice, put a subject line first. And I'll show you why in a sec. And then I usually say, do any of these times work for you? Of these times work for you? I like the little type ahead. And there is now where we do insert, and we go over here to the scheduling poll. Comes up right on the side. And I do like this interface in terms of it starts showing me all these different times. It at the top is usually the ones that are probably the one I want to pick. Of course, in this demo environment, everybody's available all the time, but we would normally get whether they're green or tentative, things like that. Again, it really helps by making some decisions. It could just start with 12 a.m. and go through all out, but it makes some good decisions here. I can just decide. Sometimes you miss this, deciding your duration there. That's really going to affect the availability, colors down here. I wish they would do a little better on this little very small arrow, but you arrow through to kind of look at different dates. I wouldn't mind a different color for the weekends. It usually works out because it always says no one's available, but there was once I almost scheduled a work meeting on a Saturday because of this interface. But you go through and you find your dates, and you pick multiple ones, right? On different days, all that good stuff. And then once you've got some different dates, you could just call it a Teams meeting. And then these poll settings are important to me. I always like to check schedule when attendees reach consensus, because if I check this, I can send this email and forget about it in general. Because once everybody picks their dates and the system sees a common agreed date, it's going to send the meeting invite on its own, and I don't have to remember to come in after everybody has voted and then send the invite. So I love that checkbox. You can see there are others as well. I do like notifying me about poll updates, get an email every time somebody votes, all that good stuff. But once we do that, then we create the poll. You can see it's taken its title from my subject line. If I didn't have that there, I think it may be blank, which looks bad when you go to view all your polls. If you keep doing that, you'll have a bunch of polls with no title. You don't know what's going on. So I saved you some time on that one. But it's a very nice, clean look. The meeting poll certainly has great power when you're trying to schedule people outside of your org. You have no idea about their calendar. I do it often. I make a poll based on the calendars of the people that I know on my side, and then hoping that the people on the other side have some commonality in that. This can also be useful even internally, where even though I see everyone's calendar, I've done a poll just because while I know that you're available on Tuesday and Thursday, I'll let you decide which one is more preferable to you. Yes, you're available Tuesday, but you might actually be trying to not have meetings on Tuesday and one Thursday. So that this gives me a chance, even though I know your calendar and don't necessarily need a poll, this gives you a chance to actually vote on your preference. Because if you've ever done this poll, you know that there are yes and no check boxes, but there's also a preferred little heart that you can add. So even consider using the poll for your internal folks as well. But I do love how clean the look is. I've had very good success with this with customers as I schedule meetings. So that's another one. The last one I'll say before talking quickly about CoPilot is that, but let's go back to Teams. The other thing you might schedule is a Teams meeting, but specifically a channel meeting. Okay, I'm in this channel. I go up here and I schedule a meeting, and it pre-populates here the channel that I'm in. Okay, channel meetings implies this is a meeting for people who are a part of this team. The meeting, its chat, its assets will sit right in the channel. All the bells and whistles will be live for us because Teams knows we're all members of the team. It's a great experience for all channel members. It's not so great for external folks by design, right? Those are people outside. They should not get all the bells and whistles of our internal channel unless I'm going to add them as a guest. One bane of the channel meeting that I've heard from customers over the years is the whole, I just wanted to meet with two people, but everybody in the team got the notice. There are ways to fix that. Without going into too much detail, I'd say go look at your Office 365 group settings, especially if you're the owner of the team. Make sure you have unchecked boxes that talk about sending everybody every single email. But a new one here that I noticed is this send personal invites. Meeting invitations will be added to personal calendars of all channel members. So there's an option. You might want to blast this out. You might not. You get this here. This hasn't always been there. And so I thought I'd call this out in case anybody out there is using channel meetings and didn't realize that button was there. So that's a cool one, especially if on the back end you've unchecked the send to everyone. This one will then force it if you want it. There's probably some meetings where you do want it. So there's that. So those are the scheduling, Teams, Outlook, and Poll. For CoPilot today is not going to schedule a meeting for you per se. However, cool things are coming in that regard. If I where's my here. If you go to the roadmap, you'll see that coming soon, it's in preview now, rolling out in May. There will be this button called Schedule with CoPilot. Me and Stacey were actually just talking about it. Feels more like a fancy reply all with CoPilot drafting capabilities to help you craft the invite. But yeah, you got to believe it. The CoPilot will get smarter about scheduling, as time goes on. I have used it to ask CoPilot about people that I interact with, what kind of availability does it have, and it will tell me about their invites that of meetings that we are both on. It won't tell me about meetings they have that I'm totally unaware of. I don't know if it will ever do that. That's a little that might be a little intrusive, but I would expect it to at some point start getting good, like the scheduling assistant, for at least seeing availability times and maybe being able to talk back and forth with it, maybe about to try to find the right time. But all that being said, it definitely could at least give us insights as we're preparing for a meeting about what's going on with us. or that might help us decide when's the best meeting, and or what kind of meeting we need based on what's going on in my email box in the last week or so. Stacey, I don't know if you wanted to. We only
Yeah,
got 4 minutes, so you want to show a little bit of that, maybe?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a demo tenant set up now. So this is one of those typical not very busy people in my demo tenant, but you can see I have 3 meetings coming up in the calendar here for next week. And one of the things that I like to leverage CoPilot to do, even in my daily work here at Microsoft, is to help me prepare for what's coming next. And so I am going to prompt CoPilot in my demo tenant for this persona's assistance to help me prepare for my meetings next week. And you all saw there were just those 3 meetings, and we'll see how good CoPilot is at helping me take a look at what to expect from those meetings and what I can be doing now to help prepare. So it's going to look across the Microsoft graph for me. It's going to check into Outlook. It's going to find those meetings. It's going to also pull from my email to see if there's any relevant topics that might be, or any email threads that might be helpful to me. And it's doing a good job. You saw with your own eyes, as do I, that there are 3 meetings on my calendar next week. It found all 3 of those for me. It recapped them here as to when the meeting is, who the meeting is with, and some suggestions. You might want to review the email you sent to Monica. You might want to visit with Stacy, who's the meeting organizer. So there's a few things that CoPilot was able to gather that are relevant for those upcoming meetings, and it's provided me 4 references. These references could just be the calendar invite themselves, or an email thread, or something else in my OneDrive perhaps that it can connect with the topic and make sure is brought to my fingertips here. So this is a great quick prompt that you can give to CoPilot and have it do some homework for you, have it help you prepare, have it help you line up your own to-dos that you might want to follow up on so that you can deliver on your meeting promises.
Awesome. So yeah, I imagine just more cool stuff's going to be coming, in the future for that. I can
Oh
just
yeah,
imagine.
there's definitely a lot coming in that regard to make this a more robust response from CoPilot. But even in its early days, like we're just past a year of CoPilot development, it's already doing a fantastic job at helping some of that homework get done in a much more straightforward fashion.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, we monopolized the time today. I don't know. Does anybody out there have any questions? I saw some stuff in the chat as we were talking. That in the last few seconds, any comments maybe on scheduling or anything like that? Hopefully this was helpful. Okay. Oh, so there was a question about when the new new planner was announced just recently. We got a fresh new icon and all these new things, but when is it coming to GCC? That I don't know offhand. I don't know if either of us do, Stacy. But just now coming to, if we use kind of a rule of thumb, just now hit commercial. I mean, I don't know, 60 days tends to be the rule of thumb, but I can't promise that. So we'll take a look and see if we can find something on that. And let's see, looking at the chat here. Yep, Stacy's addressing some questions. So, okay. Awesome. Well, we're at time here. So again, hope that was helpful. We'll be back. Same bat time, same bat channel. Update the site with the link and all that good stuff. And we'll come back and talk more in the future. So glad you guys
Thanks,
could make
Ricardo.
it. Yeah, thank you. See you guys next time.